Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's Cow Daily. I'm in the south of France. Full disclosure, I'm wearing a linen shirt going for that Bergerac look, and I swear to God, this is the most clothes I've had on for about a week. It is absolutely, utterly horrendous in terms of the weather here. 36 degrees today. I think it's about that now. So I'll go as long as I can go, but we don't have aircon here. So I really don't know what's going to happen. So I've prepped the show. I'll do as much as I can. In terms of Alice, obviously, ordinarily we do 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Obviously, it's Tuesday, and 7 o'clock here would just be too much. There's absolutely no way I could do it. I've done it before, and it was just horrific. So I'm just not going to do it again, like for health reasons, and also everybody else where I am has to sit without any kind of fan on because it makes a noise over the microphone. So we'll go as far along as we can. We've got some shutters shut, and we'll just see how it goes. But I wish I could show outside. It's horrific. This week we're going to talk about climate change, taking some of your questions as well. Also a little bit on the cost of living. But please do get involved in the live chat. Let us know that you're here. Also ask some questions, and I'll try and do as many as I can on the fly. Nice one. Also, as I said, Alice isn't with me this week because we can't record at 7 and she's at work. Also, it's probably a bit better for her at the minute because she hasn't got a bathroom. Anyway, back to the show. So climate change. It's been a big one, obviously, and I'm just going to show you. This is where I am now. You don't need to know exactly where I am other than the south of France. This is the next week where I currently am. And as you can see, it's going to be mid-30s and above pretty much all week. But it's the nighttime temperatures which are the real problem at the minute. Anything over 20 degrees is a real stress on your body, but also really not good for things like wildfires. Now, I've got some examples here which I've talked about on the page. I'll just scroll on there. This is from Safe Communities Portugal, and they do like English language stuff for people who speak English who live in Portugal. There's a red maximum, very hot temperature warning for 7 districts across Portugal, issued by the IPMA, which is, I think, their Met Office. And basically what that means is that people generally have to stay inside. You're not allowed to go into any kind of forest, rural type trails area, hiking, anything like that. That's banned, and it's actually been ratcheted up in the last 24 hours. It's actually a criminal offence to do it, even for work. So you're not allowed to go and work there because sparks from lawnmowers and machinery can set off wildfires, which could burn a whole lot of stuff down. The only people who are actually allowed there are firefighters, which is mad when you think about it. The Prime Minister of Portugal, Costa, tweeted out the other day that basically, I think there was events in Lisbon. They were closed down. There's all kinds of madness going on. I think the reason why I want to talk about this, and I've been banging on about this on the page for the last few days, it's pretty clear, really. Obviously, I'm sitting in it now. I'm sitting in some mad linen shirt, and I'm already starting to sweat my head off. A lot of people in the UK, right, that don't obviously have air conditioning, right? So, and the houses are just stuffy anyway, like anything over bloody 15 degrees, some of them. So what that means is a lot of people are going to be suffering, and it's not really going to get any better. Now, fast forward, rewind back to the experiences where I've had in the last couple of weeks on the continent. The place we were before, where we were supposed to record last week, it was just ridiculous. It was just ridiculously hot. And a lot of these houses here, they don't have aircon either because this is a real sort of crazy event. Earlier on in the summer, I think it was in June, there was a heat wave, and I was walking along next to a river with my dog, and the temperatures were good enough to walk on that particular day. And you could see the damage that's been done to the land. Next to the river, it was under like a canopy of trees. And what I could see was, 2 seconds, I'm just going to remove this for now. What I could see was next to this like river was bowed up. And what we were walking on the path, it was all cracked and bowed. And I was like, shit, that's fully not normal. That isn't how things should be at all. And that's the starting point. In that area that we were in, it's like a real sort of farming area for crops, things like that. If you've been reading the stuff I've been writing this week on the page, you will see that I've talked about how it's been announced that the crops have failed in Italy, and that'll be a problem. And if you couple that alongside what's happening in Ukraine with the war, given the amount of wheat, etc., that is grown there, and obviously the Russian Navy blockading anything coming out, that's going to be a real problem. So I think a lot of people in the UK, they talk about like, oh, straight to the beer garden, and it's a very jocular thing, and oh, isn't this lovely? Well, it's coming to the UK too. I was told yesterday in the comments that a guy was saying that this French wine growers are buying land up in the south of England because that might be a place where they can actually start growing their produce. I mean, like, God knows how that's going to work, but there you bloody well go. So, more stuff. This is from Copernicus EMS, which is emergency management service. It's the joined up emergency management for all the EU nations, and their announcement is, excuse me, the announcement isn't a big cough. What it is there's a very extreme danger of fire forecasted in areas such as Andalusia and Extremadura in Spain, the Alentejo, Lisbon, and the Algarve regions in Portugal. And it goes on to say there's extreme danger in Portugal, Spain, France, Italy, Croatia, Hungary, Greece, Cyprus, and Turkey. Anybody who tells me my GCSE level geography flag game isn't good can kiss my ass. So obviously, it's a Europe-wide problem, a big problem, and it's a big problem for everybody because of the globalized food network. So as we go on, one of my favorite artists, Darren Cullen, he goes by Spelling Mistakes Cost Lives. I thought this was a very interesting and funny thing that's come up. What he says is, I know I posted my Sun front page painting on here recently, but this one is uncanny. The actual headline is 1 degree hotter than the figure I chose to be an absurdly high temperature for the UK. See pic 2, which I made in 2019. Don't worry, I'm going to show you them. For our American or very old friends, 43 degrees centigrade is 109.4 degrees Fahrenheit. And still Rupert Murdoch's rag calls it a fucking scorcher and illustrates it with people enjoying the weather and bikinis on the beach. Nobody enjoys 43 degrees, you goddamn psychopaths. So this is Darren's artwork, Sun front page. It's a scorcher, 42C, and the headline, everyone is dead. And here's the actual article from the Sun from yesterday. 43 degrees, scorcher, could be the hottest ever. The problem with this is it's the way that rag media like the Sun are presenting this stuff. 43 degrees is not good. We need to start thinking of these things like we think of storm warnings, fog warnings, any other extreme weather warning. In 2003 in France, as you know where I am right now, over 10,000 people died because of the extended heat wave that was going on there. This year, it's worse already, and we haven't even got into like real summer yet. It's a real worry. I mean, we're heading away from here. We're heading like obviously back towards England, but we're doing it quite slowly. The problem is, I'll tell you all about this on another show. Actually, it's going off in the weeds, but we're on the move anyway. We're on the road, and we're going to go substantially north, and it's still going to be as hot as it is here today and overnight. Like from a personal perspective, I can tell you what this is doing to my body. Like I'm absolutely wrecked. Like I'm still managing to get to sleep at night, but I'm having to do that by leaving the door open and the windows open, but there's no fly screens, much like most houses in the UK. So I'm getting bitten to bits off mosquitoes and things like that. That obviously is like it's leading day to day to day after this, like heat exhaustion. It's like you can tell it's on its way. I mean, I'm sitting here, I've got an ice pack behind us, right? And when I put it behind us, it was obviously cold. Now it's starting to get warm already. And we're nearly not even 10 minutes in, right? So 10 minutes ago, I put this behind us. This stuff is mad. There's nothing fun about this. Right, I'm going to just have a look. There's a few comments come in. Let's just see who's here. Ah, this is a lovely one. Morning, Mr. Cow. Hope all is good with you. Really nice to see you on here, Duncan, because normally you're helping out on 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night with the wheelchair rugby team, Newcastle Barbarians. So it's nice that you can join me live, mate. Just a little point as well, already in terms of how this heat is affecting us, I'm already starting to stumble on my words. My head's starting to go. And do you know what it feels like? It feels like a bit like when I had brain fog last year, and I've talked about that a lot on the show. And it's really hard to get my bars out, fam. So anyway, who else is here? Joanne's here. Hello, Joanne. Morning. Had to set up the technology and missed 5 minutes. Same, mate. We're not in the usual place, as you can see, and it was an absolute headbuster. Shelley Kelly's here. Hello, mate. Get in touch with us, actually, Shelley, just on that thing we're wanting to talk about. If you could, that would be cool. What else? Robert Grady's in. Hello, Robert. Met officers issued a weather warning, so many are poo-pooing it. Well, they'll probably shit themselves as well when it actually all starts coming on top. Zoe Jarrett's in. It's Don't Look Up, isn't it? The scum always does this. I'm really not looking forward to this with my conditions. I hear you, mate. All I can suggest is don't suggest to people on a Facebook page that they should open the loft during an extreme weather event. You'll get all manner of shit when you wake up. Seriously, couldn't believe that. But yeah, watch what you're doing, my friend. Watch what you're doing. So as you can see, the way the media are reporting it is just absolutely, well, as Zoe says, it's like Don't Look Up. It's off. It's not. And I'm just like, well, what the hell are we supposed to do? If you look at some of the threads regarding climate change, because basically all I've wrote about the last few days is climate change, the amount of pushback and people not taking this seriously has led me to want to actually sit here and do this now and try, obviously, to get the show out this week, but also try and get the point across about what is actually going on. For a great example, and shouts to Peter Howell, who actually put us on to this idea. I asked for some advice the other day. I was like, what is it that will make people like in the UK actually see what's happening on mainland Europe, and how can we connect that to people's lives? So Petra suggested through her work that she connects it to things that people care about. So I had to think about it. What do people care about in the UK? Beer. So price of a pint will double. If you want all the source material and whatever, go to Milk Cow Podcast Facebook page and you will see what I've wrote there. I think the average price per pint due to Statista was £3.96. That is likely due to what I've been talking about there, and obviously the situation in Ukraine. Wheat, barley, obviously you make beer from that. Price of the raw materials of that are going to go up due to climate change, but also due to the war. And that's likely to result in a pint that's going to be £8 plus. And that's not some abstract in the future. That is now. That this is all happening now. We need to start thinking about climate change as something not in the abstract, but something that's happening to us right now. And we have an absolutely super limited amount of time to do something about this. We also have arch bellends like Ed Balls, who, for whatever reason, is like some guest presenter on Good Morning Britain, talking to a representative from Just Stop Oil, who actually I spoke to not so long ago, who will be coming up on the show. The same guy. He's a wonderful person. He's got a tag on his leg because he's done a sentence in Belmarsh, and you've got Ed Balls calling him a terrorist. And fair play to the lad from Just Stop Oil. He put him back in his box and told him, how dare you say that? But he's calling somebody who's actually getting out there and doing something about this catastrophe. You can still see on the screen, 43 degrees. 43 degrees in the UK. People will die as a result of that, man. That is bad. That is terrible. 43 degrees, bellends like Ed Balls, people in positions of power, like he was, or like has been like fated as some kind of big Blairite comeback. And his wife, I think Yvette Cooper, I think that's who it is. She's given it like 9 out as well on the telly. And it's like, what are these bellends on about, man? It's just they're just the living embodiment of that meme with the cartoon dog, and the flames are all around it, and the speech bubble says, "This is fine." This is where we are now. And I know people don't want to hear this shit. I don't want to be saying this shit. I don't want to be sitting here doing the show about this shit. But this is really, 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 really serious. I mean, coming up, sort of in a few weeks, I'll be talking to a climate scientist about desertification in central Portugal. Now, if you're not sure what that is, central Portugal may be turning into a desert in mainland Europe. A desert. Think about that, man. Like, we can still stop this from happening, though, but we've got a limited amount of time. So, I mean, somebody in the comments said it was like, oh, you know, no matter what you do, it's not going to make any difference. Like, look, listen, you might well be right, pal, but I want to look at myself in the mirror when all this is said and done, and I know that we're surrounded by people who want to do the same. Sometimes it's about the actual act of defiance and doing something about it and resistance. Look, I've been involved in so many like campaigns and sort of single issue stuff for years and years, man. I was campaigning against climate change and in the 90s. I was arrested and blah blah blah, whatever. You know when you're doing these things that it's probably not gonna work, but you've got to. I know a lot of like people feel the same. If you don't do it, it feels like you can't breathe. Like you can't you can't exist properly. You don't feel in integrity with yourself, more to the point. And that's why I do it. And I know a lot of friends, they do the same. And we probably won't win, but we just might. And the top and bottom of it is, if you don't get your fucking boots on in the morning and get yourself out the door, or metaphorically or whatever, and actually do something that day to even raise awareness about this, and knowing that you're going to get a big bag of shit off a lot of people who just want to live in a world of delusion and don't want to face object reality about climate change, you still do it, still get up, still pick yourself up and do it, because there might not be more of us than there is of them, but there's power in collectivism, and there's power in acting as an individual as part of that collective, and that's all I see myself as part of, like Milk the Cow, really, and doing stuff alongside you. It gives me heart to keep going, knowing that you guys are there. I mean, look, it's like, God knows what time is it? 11 o'clock in England at the minute. 11 o'clock in the morning, or half 11, or whatever it is, or 12, and we're here and we're talking about it, and there's people popping up in the comments. So appreciate you being here, and let's just keep it going. So what else we got on the climate change side of things? I don't know, how did that get there? Priti Patel has thrown her hat into the ring. What a wonderful hat it is. Right, Wall Street Journal. Ukraine war pushes millions of the world's poorest towards starvation. Malnutrition wards in Somalia are overflowing, with children being the brunt as prices of food staples surge since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. I mean, a lot of this type of stuff just goes over people's heads. But this is Joe Biden, right? So the thing I've highlighted here is as so high that the administration is willing to countenance even a global recession and mounting hunger. Think what this means. I'm going to read the whole bit. Hold that thought, though. Even if that reality does not materialize immediately, officials have described the stakes of ensuring Russia cannot swallow up Ukraine, an outcome officials believe could embolden Putin to invade other neighbors or even strike out at NATO members, are so high that the administration is willing to countenance even a global recession and mounting hunger. In layman's terms, what that means is Joe Biden is willing to countenance a global recession and mounting hunger to push back against Russia. So, man, where do you even go with that kind of thing? Like, these people have been doing this for years. It's like they see people as numbers. They see people as less than them. They're a bunch of arrogant fucking assholes. Fuck Joe Biden, man. And I swear to God, like, we'll come on to Starmer in a bit. There's something that I want to pick up about him when we get past this particular bit. Fuck that guy, man. Seriously. They're one and the same. So, another thing, in line with the spell mistakes cost lives Darren Cullen thing, who's an artist. This is a meteorologist, Laura Tobin, who I believe is on Good Morning Britain. She may be on something else. I'm not sure. Didn't really watch the telly, to be honest. Top image was I'm going to show you the images. Top image was my forecast for the average summer for the UK by 2050 due to climate change 8 years ago. So she forecast this for 2050 8 years ago. The bottom image was my actual forecast for the UK for yesterday. Average projections are happening now. So those are for 2050. Check this out, man. You can see it there. She did a spoof one 8 years ago, and she thought that was outlandish, just like the artist Darren Cullen thought it was. And there's the real forecast. Mental. People still cannot get their bloody heads around this thing. And for me, I'll be honest with you, I'm scared. And I like to keep a positive attitude wherever possible. But I'm scared. And I'm scared because people want to fall back on conspiracy theories. They want to, I think it provides comfort to them. And I can't take that away from people, like, I guess. But, we do need people to get on board and face object reality. I'm sitting in it now, man. Like, this ice pack behind us now, it's warm. 20 minutes in? And it's just on me back. I mean, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to sit and do this without aircon, but we'll try. And you've got people, the page was riddled with it, like the past few days. Like, people either naysaying and going, well, I don't feel like I can do anything about it, so business as usual. It's going to affect you, though, and it's going to affect the people around you. Like, what we're going to do when bread is either not available or it's ridiculous prices. I've already detailed the beer type of thing. And I'm scared. I'm scared that, like, people just don't care. I also think this is the worst possible time because we've got this rebound effect where people think COVID's over. It's not. Both my parents have got it. My mother's in bed with it, and I'm really worried. That's not over, is it? I even had somebody. Actually, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to just take. I think I'll just be taking out what I feel about like the fear on my parents on somebody else there. So I'm going to stop myself in the moment and not do that. We've got a rebound effect where people feel like they're entitled to be going out and getting smashed and just doing this, that, and the third. And in some respects, I can understand that mentality. Like, a lot of sacrifices were made by a lot of people. But what that breeds is a complacency about everything else. And people more than ever don't want to fucking hear it. They don't want to hear about climate change. They don't want to hear about anything else. The problem that we've got is, and you'll see this with the cost of living crisis bit that I'm going to be doing just after this, there's a lot of factors that are coming together leading into the winter in terms of what things cost. And there's a real problem afoot. And I think I should probably go into that bit now. But before I do that, I'm going to take a few of these comments. So Joanne is saying, I'm sure Biden won't go hungry. I too fucking right, he won't go hungry. It's like all of these bastards, man, they're just like, this is all abstract to them. It's all about their personal ambition and how their people are, whilst giving sound bites out like they care. I mean, the Democrats' response to Roe versus Wade is like, make sure you vote later in the year. Make sure you vote. For what? You're not presenting any solutions, just like the UK Labour Party on. Two peas in the same fucking pod. Zoe's saying people don't like to realize their own mortality. True, mate. And I think, like, I think we've kind of alluded on it in conversation that we've had online. It's like, I had a long-term illness. I'm fortunately better now, but I understand that you've got a long-term illness, and it really does make you look at yourself and your own mortality and what's important, doesn't it? And I think that's part of what's enabling me to deal with this. It does bring that. And if you think, like, you face death and whatever, it doesn't scare you the same. I don't want to say it doesn't scare you, because I don't think that's true, and everybody's different. But it scares you differently. It just makes me think, well, look, if I'm going to die anyway, then I'm going out in a blaze of glory, and we're going to try and do something about all this shit. Shelley's saying, I'm off with COVID at the moment, which is why I can't watch this at midday, and this is the very worst I've had it. Tell us about it, mate. I mean, like, I spoke to my mum on FaceTime yesterday, and really worried. I was really heartened when she texted us last night and says her throat was feeling a bit better. But it was bloody 29 degrees in Gateshead yesterday, and my poor mum's got COVID and that, no aircon now. I was having to, like, send, like, directions to me dad, like, how to That's where that loft thing came from. Actually, I was sending them all these tips and take it up with the sleep council. You fucking bellends. So Barbara's here. Hello, Barbara. Nice to see you here. Hi. If you have an electric fan, try putting a bowl of ice water in front of it. It does work for a while to cool the air down. That's a mint. That's mint. Actually, I'm really going to try that straight away after this, which could be in the next 5 minutes if you want, because I'm absolutely done already. My head's battered. It's just so hot. I think it's 34, 35 degrees and I'm inside. Anyway, we'll get through this. We'll do this. We've got cost of living to come up and then your questions at the end. If you're here and you didn't get your questions in earlier, get them in the live chat and I'll try and answer them as much as I can. We've just bear with it. I'm just going to take a little drink. Just talk for 25 minutes straight. That's the problem when Alice isn't here. You've just got to kind of bang it out. Right, so let's go pull this up. I put this little video together, and it's Martin Lewis, who many of you know is the money-saving expert. He's doing bits on the cost of living crisis. He's really doing like work for all of us. And it just goes to show you, right, there's no such thing as purity within politics. This is a guy who was like, I read about him and he was like, used to be a Lib Dem and maybe he's like, I think he voted Tory in the London mayor elections and whatever. Listen, I'll work with absolutely anybody within reason at any moment in time, or like big up anybody at any moment in time. Fuck all this political purity shit. If we've got the same goal, which is like to make things easier for the people who are in the cost of living, then let's do that. And that goes on the page. And that's why I wrote yesterday about the conspiracy theorists that are there. It's like, without being all #BeKind, people are just coming to things like from their direction. And, you know, there's some people like who are just lovely and some people who just are bellends. And it's best to just try and like show them some love. But the cost of living crisis. Here's Martin Lewis.
Prediction out today, and it makes me feel sick to tell you, and I'm sorry for everyone listening who'll be upset by it, is that in October we will see a price cap rise of around 64%. That's a strong prediction because we're nearly at the end of the period, bringing a typical bill to £3,244 a year. In January, it will go up another 4% to around £3,360 a year for someone on typical bills. We then thought it would start to drop in April. Now, and this is a much softer prediction, it will be flat in April. Just to put this in perspective, two statistics for you. Number one, the rise in the prediction alone since May, when the Chancellor put his package in, is 450 quid. The help for most households was £400. So just the prediction rise has wiped that out. Number two, this means an energy bill from October will be over a third of the new full state pension. It's not a mortgage. It's not rent. It's an energy bill. And that's based on typical use. Of course, many pensioners use more. This is a difficult event for about 75% of homes in the country and a cataclysmic event for probably up to 10 million people who will be shoved into real poverty. We do not have time to wait for ministers to get a new leader, get somebody in the job who's never done it before, waiting 6 to 8 weeks to get up with their brief so they understand what's going on. There is a hard deadline here. This isn't the arbitrary deadline of Brexit. There's a hard deadline. On the 23rd or towards the end of August, we'll hear what the new price cap will be officially. People will go wild. On the 1st of October, the prices will go up. Government is the only one who can do something to stop those prices going up to £3,244, and it must be a functioning government to do it.
It is going to be a very, very bleak winter. You're talking, with some of the debt charities, 35% of people who go in after they've had their debt counselling are still running a negative deficit budget, so they can't afford to pay, even when everything's been cut by the experts from them. And we are getting close, I have said this before, to a position of civil disobedience in this country, civil unrest, not riots. I mean,
civil disobedience, you mean in terms of people refusing to pay their bills?
We've had it in Ireland where people refuse to pay their mortgages in the past. I don't think we are far away from that position. The government was too late on the cost of living crisis with its previous interventions. The one that came from the Chancellor recently wasn't too bad. But I just give a warning now. You cannot spend too long on this. We have a genuine catastrophic crisis hitting 10 million people, potentially moving into severe levels of poverty. We haven't got enough time to deal with this. We need to get this dealt with and get it sorted before winter comes.
So you know what Martin reminds us of there? He's got that energy that Bob Geldof had during Live Aid, where he's like, "Give us the fucking money now." It's like desperation in it, and sometimes that comes out. And he's a very middle of the road guy, and that's why I did all that Lib Dem Tory preamble about his past. But it seems to me he's like, well, on that basis, he's talking to the left of Kropotkin at this point. The problem is we're in late stage capitalism. Capitalism has failed. It was always going to fail. But since 2008, there's all this quantitative easing and all this, well, basically moving public money into private hands. I mean, nobody actually knows the true figure about anything after the crash. And they've got no new ideas. I mean, you've seen all these 95% mortgages that are coming out, and like they're talking about 100% mortgages. Like, this is not going to work, man. Like, the thing has to fail, and within capitalist theory, it's supposed to fail so things can like get better, and it's all this perfect system and all this shit. It doesn't work. It's been held together by elastoplasts and pieces of string for decades now, and it's all the money has been going up. Recently, within the last 6 months, it was one of the Ivy League universities in the United States. It may be Harvard, but I can't remember which one, if I'm honest. They put a study out, and it was about trickle-down capitalism. You know, this thing that like capitalist ghouls always say, oh, well, the money trickles down, these are wealth creators and all that. It's been proven unequivocally that that doesn't work. Anyway, back to what Martin was saying there. Going into this winter, obviously the price cap is going to change, and that's going to plunge 10 million people into actual real poverty, where the money they've got coming in through no fault of their own does not cover their basic cost of living. Now, this is fucking why I'm always banging on when people are playing the 5D centrist chess game. Like, oh, well, if we do this, then Starmer will do that. And then, like, you know, he said this, but he's just, when he gets in, he'll do this. No, he fucking won't. He is about as much use as a chocolate fire god. Here's why, and we'll come back to it. This fucking dafty, when all this is going on, cost of living, climate change, the real things to real people, is banging on about the magic.
Every single Tory candidate making wild spending commitments should tell us precisely where they're getting that money from. Is it cuts? If so, what are they cutting? Where's it coming from? If it's borrowing, well, tell us how much they're borrowing. Or is it the magic money tree that they've suddenly discovered, having arrived back down here from the moon, where they've apparently been for the last 12 years?
Shut the fuck up, you absolute bell. Like, that's all they've got. Like, all this fucking focus group bullshit. All this, like, oh, we're the fiscally responsible ones. Like, I mean, the Tories have always inhabited that ground traditionally. Like, they've always given off this impression, as false as it is, that they are a safe pair of hands, and. The reality is they're all two cheeks of the same arse, and there's not a safe pair of hands. What we need here is not a word that we would use in the past, which is radical solutions. Fuck off, radical. Change that for rational. The radicals are the ones in power now who are doing nothing at all while the world burns, literally and figuratively. They're doing not a thing. So look at what Martin Lewis has just said there leading into the winter. 10 million people. 75% of the rest of the population are going to be being put under. So they're going to be reduced to like a basically like breaking even or slightly a little bit more. Now that, in terms of like the wider economy, in the capitalist system means, look at leisure and the service industries and things that aren't necessities for people. People are not going to go out and buy things. So then there'll be job losses. So then there'll be more people on the dole. So then there'll be less tax spend. Then there'll be less tax that's being like paid by people. So the economy just gets worse and gets worse and gets worse. It's going, without intervention, it's going to blow. Sunak announced like quite recently that people on certain benefits are going to get like £650. There was half for people straight away who weren't on working tax credits, and then half in the autumn. People on working tax credits, you get half in the autumn and then half in the winter. It's not even going to touch the sides for people. Not even going to touch the sides. This is a guy, Rishi Sunak, who, I don't know if you've seen the video, he was on some kind of like middle class kids program when he was like 18 or something. And he was like, yeah, I've got friends who are like gentry. I've got friends who are upper class. I've got friends who are working class. Maybe not working class. And his dad sat next to him, like laughing along. And it just had the same energies when Keir Starmer was like questioned about the bin strike in Coventry, and he was like, Coventry, like it was something like shit on his shoe. That's how these people think about us. So the solutions are not going to come from these main parties, and they're not going to come from the friggin' Lib Dems either, because they'll just jump on whatever horse they want, because they're all rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, and the Titanic is on fire and it's sinking. And oh my God, man, I'm just absolutely like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? What the fuck is wrong with them? Let's see what you are saying in the comments. Right, 2 seconds. Emma Blair, hiya, at work, so got to get back, but wanted to say hello. Keep cool. We had Lofts and Biker. Hello, mate. Nice to see you. It's nice to do one at a different time, actually, because people can actually like access it. Cause some people can't at 7 o'clock, so it's nice to like see people who normally like watch it on the playback and can't be in the live chat. Nice one. Nice to see Emma. John Wilkes, new name as well. How, John? Not sure if it's something other people do, but open windows with closed blinds to the bedroom through the day keeps the room a bit cooler. Indeed. Barbara says she's followed Martin for years. He's very good. I agree. Like he's one of the reasons why I get cheap glasses, because but I'm not even going to get into that because I could talk about that. But go and check out his cheap glasses thing on the forum. Really good. So he's saying it won't just be the old, disabled, and vulnerable dying this year. Indeed. Bloody hell, man. And she goes on to say, don't we have a recession incoming anyway? Ms. Griffith says, info from Greenpeace Energy here. The buy-in cost of gas electricity per kilowatt on 5th of October 21. Gas 3 cent, Lecky 9 cent. 16th of June 22. Gas 10 cent, Lecky 25 cent. Jeez. It's crazy, yeah. Let us know how any of this might affect you in the comments. And yeah, I honestly, like, it's obvious without state intervention, this isn't going to work. Here's the solution, in my opinion. Universal basic income for all now, and caps on the price of things, because these bastards will just gouge everybody's universal basic income. We've seen what they're about. The wholesale prices of oil and gas are less than what they were when the prices were substantially less. They're gouging the shit out of us. Meanwhile, Joe Biden will send out some kind of mean tweet, and the Conservatives are in some kind of internecine leadership contest where by the time they've sorted all of that out, it'll be too late to actually do anything about this. The whole thing is going down rapidly. So add the climate change stuff on that we've talked about earlier on in the show. Add it with the cost of living crisis. Stick the war in there as well. It's not good. Martin Lewis, one of the most middle of the road people there is, great work as he does, is saying there'll be civil disobedience. I can't imagine that lad on the barricades, but maybe he will be, I don't know. Civil disobedience affecting 10 million people. Now, quite often we don't think over there is over here. Sri Lanka at the weekend, thousands of people because of these issues. They stormed the presidential palace, and now he's going to resign. I honestly don't know what these arseholes at the top of society think is going to happen. Like, if people can't afford to feed their kids, it's kind of a motivating factor to actually get out there and try and like get their kids fed. So what that probably means is people getting their heads ripped off them if they don't actually do something about it. I think they're so out of touch because you've got people like Suella Braverman who's standing for, she's the Attorney General at the moment. She's standing for leader of the Labour Party, Freudian slip. Come here. Conservative Party, same thing. She's standing for the leadership. And her quotes are along the lines of, we pay too much out in benefits. We've got to get that sorted. And. They have not got a grip of their brief as in their job. All of these idiots who are standing for election for the leadership, never mind a grip of the problems out there in the world. I swear to God, man, what the fuck is wrong with our society? People have elected the worst possible people at the worst possible time. And that's still talking about the threat of Corbynism. What, the actually dealing with these issues well ahead of time, fully costed out in a manifesto which was signed off by people who won the Nobel Prize for Economics. But yet was subject to the biggest smear campaign I think I've ever seen in my lifetime, in the Western world at least. That's the threat, is it? So, right, run that by us again. That's the threat. Crazy, man. Like it's like Malcolm X said, right? And do I still have this video? I do not. And it was along the lines of like the newspapers will have you hating the people who are there to help you and distrusting the people who are working against you. Total paraphrase, but you get the point. And that's what we're saying. And that's what's happening right now. And whether we like it or not, we've got two choices. Stand up, rise up now and do something about it. And that could even be from your house, doing it digitally. My activism looks like this now. I very rarely go out to a protest, and certainly didn't during the like lockdowns and things of that nature. But that's just me. I choose to do things this way, and I think I can be more effective, like trying to build a platform like this and giving a voice to people. And it takes up pretty much most of my time. What are you going to do though? Because like it's affecting us all. I mean, this is like you could have had, like I said before, Martin Lewis 10 years ago, impassioned talking about like what's happening in sub-Saharan Africa or something. And as we've seen earlier in the program, you've got GMB News, like weather people talking about this and saying that their most outlandish 2050 forecast happened yesterday in Britain, Mud Island, and it's called that for a reason. Crazy. Let's see what you're saying. Right, Steve Jackson. How, Steve? Nice to see you. If enough idiots stand as Tory leaders and are rejected, the true blues will think whoever is left standing will be a towering genius. We have a month and a half of Tory party political broadcasts instead of news, apart from the weekly Daily Cow. Mate, I'd go daily if we could. So just on that, if anybody's out there and you want to try and help support, you can go to patreon.com/cowdaily and help support our work and make this. Listen, I'd sit here every morning and do this if we could, if thought it would make a difference and I could afford to. So if you could help, please do. Please sign up to the Cow Daily mailing list. Also, to stay in touch in case we get zapped from social media, which could easily happen. I mean, like the type of shit that we're talking about, you know, we know that we've been targeted before. So there you bloody well go. Also, if you are around, please watch on the Cow Daily YouTube channel. It helps us to monetize the channel. YouTube.com/Cow Daily. Link in description of this podcast. Just going to play you something as a palate cleanser before we go into your questions at the end. While this is playing, if you've got any questions or like things you would like me to just spitball and freestyle and talk about in the last sort of 15 minutes of the show, please do. I'm just going to use this opportunity to get a drink and hopefully get through to the hour. It is hot as hell in here. But hey, Dino Kid's here.
Hey, you'll slip. I won't fall. Maybe I will. That's okay, 'cause we all fall. Hi, from Dad. Well, let's go down this big old hill. Wee woo! Wee woo! Wee woo! Woo!
Hey, what kind of dinosaur are you?
Tyrannosaurus! I'm a Stegosaurus.
Big up the Dino Kid. For me, it's about trying to have a better world, and hopefully Dino Kid, as you can see snowboarding there, has snow to board on or food to eat. more pointedly. Anyway, I put out a call for things to talk about, and here are some for people who couldn't make it. Please do get yours in. I'll try and do my best for you. Carlos CWC on Facebook, he says, do you think the UK will split apart and shut it? Now, there was a few sort of requests for things to talk about, and they were kind of much of a muchness. Like, it's the same kind of milieu anyway. So I'm going to read these out and then take them all at once. Christoph Tardy, or like, is it Tatey or Tardy? You tell me, mate. Come jump on. Do you think that Scottish independence could put them in a better position to change Great Britain for the better and possibly swing us back towards Europe? And Colin James says, disclosure first, I'm Irish. Do any of the UK politicians have the faintest understanding of the Northern Ireland situation? Either politically or geographically, I get a growing sense that 100 years on, Northern Ireland is nothing but an inconvenience to the UK. I mean no offence to anyone in the UK or Northern Ireland. So, we'll go back to the first one. I think the UK will split apart and shut it. I think there's more chance of it splitting apart than not, but there's an aggravating factor. I don't like, if you saw the last show that we did miss last week. I did like a little taster of the Laura Pidcock interview, and in that we spoke about MI6 intervention in the democratic process, like, just by leaking and briefing against Corbyn after they'd had private meetings, which is normal to do with the leader of the opposition when there's a global crisis or anything for that matter. They do have those briefings. Starmer does it now as well. That was leaked. So my point on that is you know as well as I do that every single possible thing they can try to keep the union together, they are going to do. And I'm not ruling anything out. And for the purposes of social media guidelines, I'll leave that one there. But you know what I'm talking about. Like, they're not going to let this break up. But it might have got out of their control. And it might happen. I think there's a will for it to happen. And I think there's a will for a united Ireland. I think there's a will for a Scotland that breaks away and joins the EU. I mean, you can see that in the polls. It's just a case of whether there's going to be like any kind of meddling. And I didn't like talking about this, but like after like speaking to Laura and seeing Declassified's work with Corbyn and what Corbyn said, and to an extent what Laura said in response, not ruling anything in, I'm not ruling anything out. So we'll go further. Christoph says Scottish independence, but a better position to change Great Britain for the better. If it happens and they rejoin the EU, which an overwhelming amount of people in Scotland, well, maybe not overwhelming, that's a bit hyperbole, but a majority of people in Scotland want to rejoin the EU, then of course it's going to be better, because immediately it's single market X, Y, and Z. And I would suggest that the people within the EU would really want Scotland to do well, because it would show after leaving that it's not a good idea and it's better within the EU. So I would suggest the EU would give Scotland special attention in the form of funds, maybe it's like European Social Fund, etc., which I know Scotland's lost a lot out of by losing the European Social Fund, because I participated in running a project in Glasgow some years ago, which was funded by the European Social Fund, and I'm not sure what replaced it ever since, and the same goes across the UK. If anything did replace it, then it's not allotted fairly, because it's the Tories, and Tories be Torying. So for me, what I want is for Scotland to get its independence. I just think as a standalone thing. What we'll get maybe will be completely different. And I think if I could suggest anything to anybody regarding United Ireland or an independent Scotland or anything of that nature, is watch the process, watch the meddling, and watch what goes on. Because I trust none of these bastards. And this is like stuff I can actually talk about now. I mean, we'll release some stuff as it goes forward when this heat wave fucking goes away, because I swear to God, I don't know how I've got through 50 minutes of this heat. Anyway, and as Colin said, what he's talking about is to people in the UK see Northern Ireland as an inconvenience. Colin, between me and you, I mean, and everybody else who's listening, I honestly don't think it even goes that far with some of them. I mean, you've seen like a lot of the Tories and some of the Labour as well. They have not got a grip at all about any of the different factors at play and what could potentially happen. It's ridiculous, and I think it's going to bite them on the arse, especially given that Sinn Féin, both sides of the border, well, I don't consider that, but anyway, whatever. Both sides of the border on the island of Ireland are doing really well. I mean, you've seen the polls in the Republic, and the Sinn Féin lead the polls. It's because they've got ideas which are rational, not radical. We need to stop using that word, rational, which meet the needs of people. I mean, you just have to look at like sort of Dublin and how much rents are and whatnot there to see why they're gaining traction. And also, they seem to have a rational approach in the north as well. So it would be interesting to see if there was there's a fly on me bloody pop shield there. Heatwave life. It would be interesting to see what the polls are saying now. I haven't checked them for a while, to be honest. But I think if there was a referendum and it wasn't meddled with, I think it would be a formality, to be honest. I mean, why on earth would you want to be part of the bloody United Kingdom? Get yourself away, United Ireland, and get into EU. I would want to say I've got serious problems with the EU. It needs massive reform. It's a neoliberal project, and I can completely see like a left-wing case for not being part of it. It's just the reason I voted Remain through gritted teeth was to like for this moment now, like European working rights and safeguards are far better, and we needed those because we knew if the Tories get in, they were going to do exactly what they did. And I was talking about this in 2016, and here we are. So anyway, there you go, soothsayer and all that. Right, moving on. Joanne, has the red team reacted to the head of the blue team's resignation? Is there anything in it to give us hope that they are on the ball to take some advantage? No, none. They're all up their own arse, and it's all about what focus groups are saying. And Starmer's banging on about the friggin' magic money tree again. And like, they're just as out of touch as the Tories are, and I don't see any reasonable like level of difference between them. Might throw the odd bone in, but nah, like they're just like waiting in the cut, trying to get elected by default, I think, and they've got no solutions whatsoever commensurate with the really extreme problems that we've got imminently right now, not in the future, not in the abstract now. So let's not piss about with these people. Like, let's not get behind the Labour Party and all this shit. Like, look at what we spoke about here. It couldn't have been laid out any clearer, I think. So what you gonna do? Right. Let us see what you guys are saying in the comments before we bring this show to an end. So scrolling back, we have Kirsten Hall is saying, clickbait story run by the Chronicle today claiming to give exact date of the first £324 payment. Massive thread of people arguing about who gets more, working or not, blah, blah. Job done. Energy companies making billions. Citizens arguing about epoxy £300. Spot on, and that's what they do. The whole like modus operandi is to turn us against each other. We're seeing that with the trade unions, and like Grant Shapps is like standing as part of his leadership campaign on like, I'll sort those bloody unions out. Like, what Grant, what have you got about the issues we've talked about today? Fuck all, because you're an imbecile. What else we got? Slaz, are you a medallion man today? Mate, I wear this every day. And I said that this to my partner before we went on. I said, oh, bloody hell, I've got some Hasselhoff vibes going on. So yes, you're quite right. Medallion man, that's where I am. This is how it goes. There, Stuckosaurus. Yvonne's here. Nice to see you here, Yvonne. The Tories kick everyone about that on in the home counties in London. Nobody trusts them. Quite right, they do. And they've been really successful in blaming it all on Labour in the north. And it's not without some veracity. I mean, like, as I've said many times, I work in the community in the north and other places, and you do see the way Labour councils just utterly fuck about. And I think one of the problems in Sunderland, which was one of the areas I did work in, was you had just people who felt like you could stick a red rosette on a pig and it would get elected. And in some respects, they're right. Same with Blythe, same elsewhere. And they used the Brexit wedge issue to fan the flames and get some Tories elected. Now, it doesn't make any difference either way, but, that's that was the discourse that was going on. So you're quite right. That's what it is. Right. What's the next comment? It's Barbara. Guy Verhofstadt was in 2021 very much in favour of Scotland being independent, and he would certainly welcome the country back in the EU. Quite right. They'll be rubbing their hands in glee to get Scotland back in, and I think Scotland will really benefit from the money that will pour that way, just so the EU can prove a point. Because, like, let's not get it twisted, and people do this. They play like teams, like Joanne talked about before, blue team, red team, whatever. It's not supporting a fucking football team. It's not like what the Jurgen Klopp, Guy Verhofstadt can do for the team. These are skilled political shark operators, just like anywhere else. The politicians are cut from the same cloth. Verhofstadt and all the rest are the same. You've just got to look at what happened to Greece. That was a brutal way of making a point, and I think that was one of the aggravating factors which led to Brexit, the Brexit vote, and it almost made me vote leave. Absolutely piss-taking neoliberal shit. Also, like the laws around like state aid and things like that, to being able to actually like prop up different different things like British Steel, things like that. Those laws are a problem, and it's a lot about this sort of neoliberalism of it. So in terms of the EU, let's not be all like, oh God, can't wait to get back in the EU because things would be better. Like Labour, they offer what are they offering? Ask that. What are they offering for us during these extreme times? What rational solutions has the EU got to combat this? Because I really don't know what they're offering other than just come back and be part of this, and probably be in a worse situation than we were before the country left. What else we got? So, Steve Jackson. Grant Shapps' leadership bid has been replaced with a local bus service. He can't get enough support to continue. Bloody hell. No way. So since we've been on, Shapps is now supporting Rishi. What they tend to do and watch for this is like they'll all hop on and play this whole Game of Thrones shit so they can still get a decent job at the end of it. They'll be like, I'll drop out if you give us Home Secretary. I'll drop out if you give us Chancellor. Can you imagine Grant Shapps as Chancellor? Can you imagine Liz Truss as anything? Like, seriously, one of the thickest people in the country, I believe. And still, this is happening. Apparently, also, Priti Patel has been saying that, like within the European Research Group, that she's the only one who can carry the Brexit torch. Bear with us. There's a fly here. Get off, you cunt. Honestly, they're plaguing me. I don't like killing things, and normally I wouldn't hurt a fly, but like seriously, for the last few weeks, you see I've got no hair, got scabs and blood, and they just get attracted by it because it's all flies getting us when I'm asleep. Horrible. So anyway, Barbara's saying the EU does work to a certain extent. Yeah, I agree, it does. For example, Portugal yesterday declared a state of emergency or the fires, and that means automatic support from all EU member states, plus Iceland and a few others. The UK is not signed up to it, though. Quite right. Absolutely, there are good things to do with the EU. Absolutely agree with you. And as I said earlier, I voted Remain because it was better to be in the current times than not, because it didn't take a crystal ball to work out which direction it would go if the Tories won the 2019 election. And here we are. So you're right. I'd far rather be in the EU than not, Barbara. But without them offering something to us, there's absolutely like no point. Like, I mean, I suppose there's a point to be part of the single market again. So I'm false in what I'm saying there. But give us something more. Like, give the people of Europe who are like part of the EU bloc more. Like, people, like you mentioned Portugal there. Like, the cost of living crisis is there, and wages versus like prices of things even before all this were like terrible. It was one of the like worst in Europe. So what's happening if the EU wants to bring a rational, not radical approach to this, same as anybody else? Universal basic income now, not next year, in 10 years. Do it now with price caps. If they wanted to get serious and prove that they were on the side of the people, which they're not, then you would be doing that, and you would not be fucking around. Like, I swear to God, these people, they just haven't got a clue what we're going through. Anyway, 1:59 minutes 37. I'm absolutely rinsed here. I'm gonna have to go and just sit in a shower. There's actually a river down the road. Seriously, the only way we can walk the dogs, it's not even walking them really, is we'll get in the, like, my partner goes out and sets the aircon off in the car for 15 minutes and pulls it up to the house. I'll sit with them. I'll then run them to the car, put them in the aircon boot, and then we'll drive to literally the edge of a riverbank. They'll let out, and then we'll go running around and swimming and everything in the river. And that's the only way we can do it. So that's what we're going to do now. Big up yourselves. Thanks for being here. Sorry we missed last week. Going to make it up to you and work as hard as I can, balance with the heat wave, and get another thing out to make up for last week, as well as Laura Pidcock and other things that we're doing. We're heading towards going north towards Germany and Holland and ultimately England as well. And you'll see this as it goes along. And I'd hope to be making like cool videos for you, like day to day, where I was going out and doing videos like as well. But I'll burn, mate. So I'll do that when the weather gets better. I've got a load of stuff booked in when we get to Holland because it's really stable internet and it's in a basement as well. So it'll be cool, literally and figuratively. It'll be out the sun no matter what's happening. So more regularity there. And then also from September, think of it as a new term. We'll be back at school and we'll be back in a right normal house. And just at it. Cooler temperatures and better vibes, mate. Bye, everybody who's in the comments. I see you saying goodbye. Thanks for being here, man. Much appreciated, especially when I'm on my own. This one really relied on your input this time. So all the best to every single one of you. I'm gonna find the way to get out of this, though. All the best, lad.